Hey everybody out there in YouTube land. Jake of the OneManBand is back again, and welcome back to another RWBY Volume 5 review. We're taking a look at Chapter 9 this time, and let's jump right into it. So, in this episode, it starts off back at the point that I wanted it to happen an episode ago, with the Chaos Syndicate finally finding Raven's camp and their interaction with one another. Now, Vernal reports to Raven that Salem has found them, and she has sent her posse to pretty much come snooping around. Now, although Raven is taken aback by this and is worried, she still puts on a calm face and affirms Vernal that they have planned for this, they've prepared for this. And Raven goes out to make nice and make a negotiation with these people. And I find it really nice that they added in this detail that Raven has prepared for this form of contingency. Raven hasn't survived as long as she has by being stupid. She is a smart woman. I just wish that she was a more caring woman. And when Raven finally exits her tent, the Chaos Syndicate is right there in front of her tent waiting to have their audience. And Raven is very disappointed in her people, that none of them had really the gumption or the balls to try to stop these people from coming into their frickin' home. And I know that a few episodes ago, Toothless Hooligan, or Shady Man as he's officially known, but I'm gonna still call him Toothless Hooligan because I'm stubborn like that, he was on guard duty at the gate, and we don't know what happened to him. Last we saw, Emerald was drawing her weapons and walking towards the gate. So, is Toothless Hooligan actually dead? Or did she simply use her semblance on him and make him go a little bit crazy, and then they just walked in the front door? But then nobody in the camp even thought to surround them, maybe take their weapons away, or at least to train weapons on them. They're all just kind of like, oh, it's just scary people coming to our place. Which really begs the question, if they are like that, then how have they survived for this long? We've already seen that they're not the most competent of fighters when they fought Yang. Really, the only two competent people in this entire tribe are Raven and Vernal, which I think are really the only ones that could truly give an adequate fight to the Chaos Syndicate. Now, I know that there is a logical reason why nobody has really taken action against these intruders. It's because they recognize the power of a maiden when they see it. I mean, if someone walked up to my house and they had fireballs in their hand and fire coming out of their eyes, I don't think I would instantly try to fight them. So, although there is a reason why they didn't take action, I think it would have been at least a good idea to show that maybe a few people try to stop them, or maybe like a few of them are nervously like clutching their weapons or pointing guns at them, but we can see that they're afraid of these people. Maybe they're shaking, or like their eyes are twitching, they're unsure. But instead we just get almost completely passive bandits who are supposed to be intimidating because it's their lifestyle. I just think it was a real missed opportunity. However, since these people can't seem to handle anything by themselves, Raven sends them off stating that they're gonna break down camp and move. Which is a logical idea. Now that their location has been discovered, there's no reason for them to be sticking around. And with the unimportant cast finally gone, Cinder goes on to introduce her associates here. Now, we know that not only is Cinder there, but also Mercury and Emerald and Watts. She introduces Arthur Watts, his full name, and what I think is important, she introduces Emerald and Mercury as her disciples. Not her followers, not her partners, but her disciples. Now, a disciple is someone who is following a teacher, or is learning under a teacher. And probably the first idea that comes to mind when people say disciple are, of course, the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ. Now, this really makes me think, does Cinder, I mean, see herself as some form of god, some form of prophet to some sort of new world agenda that Salem is trying to push? Or does she simply see herself as the leader of this team and the one who is teaching these two younger people? Either way, Cinder does not see Mercury and Emerald as equals. She does not see them as partners. She sees them as students, as learners, people who are a rank below her, if you will. Now, I'm not sure how Mercury and Emerald really like the idea of being referred to as disciples, but they don't seem to shy away from the moniker of being a disciple. They seem to take pride in it. So, I just wish that we would have actually time with Mercury and Emerald. We haven't had much time with them at all since Volume 3, so we don't know what exactly is going on in their heads at this moment. It appears, throughout this episode and throughout what we've seen, Mercury is still very much hot-headed, he's gung-ho, and he is ready to do whatever he needs to do. He's a fighter type. He just wants to fight somebody and cause trouble. Emerald, on the other hand, seems to be a little bit more apprehensive, a little bit more thoughtful of the situation, and I think this goes back to her dedication to Cinder. As we saw in Volume 3, her dedication to Cinder is really, really strong. We saw this in the flashback episode. So, I think now that Cinder has gone through this traumatic issue where she was wounded and defeated by RWBY, Emerald is even more protective of Cinder. And so, after Cinder introduces everyone to Raven, Raven just goes down the line and breaks everyone down. And I find this great, because it's stuff that I do. This is the kind of stuff that I do. And Raven pretty much does it for me right here. She pretty much just refers to Mercury and Emerald as two young children who have been deceived into following someone. They don't know really what they're doing. They've just been deceived. They're stupid kids. She refers to Watts as a disgraced Atlesian scientist, which really brings up a lot of I think this brings up a lot of interesting information. Disgraced Atlesian scientist. So, he worked at Atlas, and it's not like Raven would just throw that sort of accusation out to anybody, because she didn't know that he was a scientist or a doctor, which he corrects her later on that he was also a doctor. It almost seems that Watts is known in the world for something, and Raven obviously knows what he is known for. So, he has been disgraced, ousted out of Atlas and the Atlas hierarchy. That's why he is probably flocked to Salem, as a form of revenge, I would say. And he was a scientist, so he was probably in the military developing weapons. Perhaps he was the one who helped design the Paladin mech suits, and upon further investigation, a lot of people have brought this up already, he was the one who designed the Black Queen virus that infected the CCT back in Volume 3. And later on in this episode, we hear that Cinder tells Watts to go back and tinker with his machines. So, I think this really paints a definitive picture of what Watts really is. He is some sort of mechanical technological scientist who probably worked with the Atlesian military at some time, yet something happened to the point where he was disgraced and ousted out of the Atlesian hierarchy. And then he went to Salem. But of course, Raven leaves Cinder for last and tells her that she has such an appropriate surname, it being Fall, that she probably picked it out for herself, which I believe is probably very much the case. We don't know a lot about Cinder's life before she came into contact with Salem. All we know is that she wanted power, she wanted to be feared, she wanted all that jazz. So maybe she was an orphan that didn't have a surname and she was only known as Cinder. And so she took on the Fall surname when she was destined to become the Fall Maiden. But Raven concludes this by stating that Cinder has a severe case of egomania. And this cannot be closer to the truth. Cinder very much is an egomaniac. She puts a lot of confidence in herself and in her abilities that she is, you know, hot shit. Her shit doesn't stink, and she is the best of the best. And we see that kind of throughout this episode, and we definitely saw that back in the Beacon Saga. But with introductions out of the way, it really comes down to the brass tacks of why this meeting is actually happening. Raven has something that the Chaos Syndicate wants, and that is Vernal, the Spring Maiden. The Spring Maiden is needed, remember, to open up the Relic Chamber in Haven Academy. And so, once Vernal is brought out to the meeting, Raven tells her to display her power for them. Now, as we know, Vernal has had over a decade to train in her maiden powers, and she definitely displays the master of her powers here. She is able to conjure up a storm, a maelstrom almost, just a big windy storm almost out of nowhere, and her eyes don't even glow when she does, as we saw back in Volume 3, where Amber was attacked by the Chaos Syndicate and subsequently defeated. When she went into her maiden state, if you will, her eyes glowed and she conjured up a storm. Yet it seems that Vernal is able to do it without having to go into her maiden state. So this displays that she has a very powerful command over her power. And not only that, I find it amazing that she conjures up a storm rather than something else. And as we see throughout this episode, and definitely at the finale of Volume 3, Cinder still prefers fire. She prefers the elemental fire attacks that she can do. So although the maidens all have the ability to use all these elemental magical powers, it would appear that certain maidens prefer certain powers, which is, I think, of course, completely understandable. Mages and magic users in many different stories prefer a certain type of magic or have a certain affinity for a type of magic, although they could conjure and use many different types. And in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang is capable of using all 4 elements, but he still prefers to use airbending and waterbending as his bread and butter. And what I think is the most important part of this scene is when Vernal is simply displaying her power, summoning this maelstrom. The look on Cinder's face is one that is truly amazing. You could just see the lust, the want, the awe of the power that is displayed in Vernal. And Cinder, either she is lusting after this power because she knows that she'll be able to unlock this one day. She has this power inside her and she just can't wait to let it all out. Or it could be along the lines of, I can't wait to have that power for myself. Because as of this moment, we do not know if Cinder was supposed to stop at just becoming the Fall Maiden. We're not sure if it's really the goal of Salem and Cinder for Cinder to take on all of the Maiden's power. But if it is, we see that the egomania and the lust for power that Cinder has is definitely there and is still very much alive. She just has this lusting for this power, and I find that scene right there, that picture, is one of the most powerful in this entire series. The lust for power. So once both teams see that they're messing with the real deal, the brass tacks really come in. Cinder may have led the Chaos Syndicate to this area and may be in command, but it really does look like Watts is in charge of the negotiation. He is the calm head in this entire deal. He isn't a fighter, he is a negotiator, he's a scientist, he's an intellectual. And so he takes control over the situation and starts to draw up and plan out what the plan is and what the deal is going to be between Salem and Raven. The plan follows as such. Raven, along with Vernal, will go with the Chaos Syndicate, slip into Haven Academy. Vernal will use her power to unlock the relic chamber. The Chaos Syndicate will secure the relic, and they will simply leave Raven and Vernal and their tribe alone to live out the remainder of their days in relative peace. Watts goes forth to say that this is the best deal that they're going to get, and to be honest, I'm inclined to believe him. I mean, the Chaos Syndicate is very much in the position of power right now. They outnumber Raven and her combatants, just her and Vernal being there, and plus they know the location of Raven's compound now, and it's going to take time to move and set up a new compound. And we already know from previous accounts that Raven believes that Salem cannot be beaten and cannot be stopped. So the situation of, well, you might as well help us and keep yourselves alive rather than stand against us. However, Raven is still very much steadfast in the thought that she wants to not be a part of this conflict. She doesn't want to take a side. Not Ozpin's, not Salem's. Yet, I really find Raven's neutrality, if you will, in this conflict to be a little... what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say childish, almost immature. To the point where she knows of these bigger powers that are battling each other, and she simply wants to not be a part of it, even when that one of those factions is right in front of her, or pretty much forcing her to become part of the conflict. Yet she still wants to opt out and not be a part of it. I just think it's almost immature of someone of Raven's intelligence to be like that. I can understand the concept of not wanting to choose sides because she doesn't want to plant a flag on any hill, especially if she knows one of those hills is going to lose. It all comes down to Raven does not trust the Chaos Syndicate. She does not trust Salem because she knows that they can't be trusted because these people are bent on destroying the world, the human world. So, and Raven is part of the human world. So, how can she trust someone who may just very well stab her in the back later? And so, she demands something else has to happen for her to agree to this situation. And I have to agree with Watts in this. She is almost in no room to negotiate at all. However, what happens next shows just how smart Raven truly is. She brings up that she wants her brother dead. She wants her brother to be taken out. She knows that Crow knows exactly where she is and knows her location. And if he's taken out of the picture, then no one will really be able to find her compound ever again once it's moved. Now, I know that it can be real heartless of Raven to say that she wants her brother dead, especially when it seems that her brother is really the only person outside of her tribe that she truly cares about. And to be honest, I would have to agree with you. It is very heartless and very, very troubling that she would want her own brother dead. However, I see the logic behind her wanting to have her brother dead. And I believe that there's another reason why she brings this up, which I'm going to talk about later. Raven proposes that Lionheart can simply lure Crow into an isolated location, and combined with Raven, Vernal, and the Chaos Syndicate, they all jump Crow, and he'll die. There's no way he would be able to fight them all off at once. And while I have a lot of confidence in Crow's ability, plus his semblance of misfortune, I think that he may be able to put up a good fight, maybe take down one of them, wounding a few others, but he would eventually fall to the overwhelming power and numbers that they propose, especially if two maidens are going after him. However, it appears that Watts knows exactly what Raven is trying to do. He knows that Raven is trying to shift the focus of the deal and the conversation in Raven's favor. She wants to change the rules of this negotiation, and he knows that that can't happen. So he tries to veer the conversation in this negotiation back to where it's supposed to be. That the goal of the situation is the relic, not Crow. And he even says, if they attack Crow, he's not going to go down easy and without making a lot of noise. It's going to generate a commotion, and when people come to investigate, they're either going to find the Chaos Syndicate there or a dead Crow and then investigate what happened, and that's going to lead to a whole other mess of problems. Especially when the plan and the mission is slip in silently to Haven, secure the relic, and get out before Adam and the White Fang arrive to destroy Haven Academy. Watts states that this plan needs to be taken care of before the attack happens at the full moon in 2 days' time. And Raven is very much on the realms that it's going to be easy. With all of us fighting him at once, he'll go down simply easy. Yet, it's at this moment that Emerald finally voices her opinion, coming to the aid of Cinder and trying to, I think, rectify the situation, because Emerald noticed that Cinder took a notice and a liking to taking out Crow. And she explains that it won't be so easy because he has the students with him. He has RWBY. And it's at that moment that me as well as Watts knew that was the trigger word. Emerald, you idiot. Why did you bring that up? Because as soon as Emerald brings that up, Cinder's attention is piqued and is like, oh yes, he would have her with her. I like this plan now. We have to remember, Cinder is still bitter and still wants revenge on what RWBY did to her. And this is a perfect situation to finally grasp that revenge, grasp that little girl, and crush her. And so Cinder comes up with a entirely new plan that can happen. Instead of infiltrating before the attack, as the attack is happening and that commotion is distracting everyone, they'll slip in, they'll take out Crow, and the students, if they get in the way, they'll secure the relic and get out, and any proof of them being there will be destroyed once Haven Academy falls. And while I do see the merits in this plan, and it very much can work, it's leaving a lot up to maybes and if this happens. It's overcomplicating the plan when the plan still could have been truly simple. And Watts knows this. He knows that with all that's going to be going on during the attack, and especially if their secondary objectives are to kill Crow, kill RWBY, or do whatever, then the possibility of them actually getting the relic is lessened. And so, before hands can be shook, Watts takes Cinder aside pretty much and says, I will not be blamed for this infatuation with getting revenge on this child. I won't be responsible for this. Again, going back to episode 2 of this volume, he doesn't want to take responsibility for things that he is not involved in or responsible for. He wants to watch his own ass. He is a very smart person. And while the securing of the relic is the true goal of what this mission is supposed to be, Raven Cinder's goal is truly going to be to destroy RWBY. That's what she wants now. Once RWBY is killed, then she can get the relic. And I think that is going to lead to a lot of complications once the battle for Haven actually starts. But Raven has indeed made a deal with the devil, and they shake hands on it. And at this point in the episode, we switch perspectives to what's going on with Blake. But right now, I want to finish up the perspective of Raven during this volume. So, after the Chaos Syndicate leaves, Raven is left alone to think about everything that's going to be going down. Now, Vernal followed the Chaos Syndicate, and she reports that they're staying in a ship about 2 kilometers away, and they have no idea that they know where they are. Almost to the point where she believes that they might attack them while they're at their ship. But Raven is just like, no. Okay, good job at scouting out where they are, but we need to take care of some stuff now. Now, Raven knows that no matter how the deal would have gone and the negotiation would have gone, she is going to wind up as the loser. Salem only uses people as long as they are useful. As soon as they're not useful, she's going to toss them aside and get rid of them. And that's exactly what's going to happen to Raven and Vernal if they go through with this plan. So, what Raven has in mind is, through all the commotion and everything that's going to be going on at Haven, her and Vernal will secure the Relic of Knowledge and use that as a bargaining chip against Salem and against Ozpin to an extent. To the point where, alright, we have a relic, now you guys just leave us alone or we're going to unleash it on you guys. It's going to be a weapon of contingency. And this is why I think Raven's command over the negotiations was amazing. Because ever since she brought up the idea of trust into the conversation, she was starting to prod and poke the Chaos Syndicate to find cracks in their armor that she can exploit. And she finally got that with, alright, let's kill Crow. That's going to complicate things. And then that led to Emerald bringing up RWBY. Through the grapevine, Raven knows that RWBY is with Crow, because Yang was looking to hook up with RWBY, who was with Crow. Raven knows all this information. And, well, she might be trying to get rid of all of these people that she doesn't like, that being Crow, maybe RWBY, maybe, Lionheart, she doesn't know, but it's the point that Raven completely and utterly played the Chaos Syndicate.
They played us like a damn fiddle!
Again, Watts may have been in charge of the negotiation, but she could see that Cinder was the one who was in charge. And so she played to Cinder's weaknesses. And through that, she got a situational deal that was far better than what she would have gotten if she would have accepted the deal at face value. Now, there's a lot more rooms for error for the Chaos Syndicate and an opportunity to come out on top for Raven and Vernal. Of course, Cinder also believes that she was playing Raven in the grand scheme of things, but I believe that Raven is the one who truly outplayed the other in the negotiations. So, Raven's goal is to secure the Relic of Knowledge, securing the safety of her people and herself. And when Vernal brings up the idea that Yang might be caught up in this whole ordeal, and what does Raven think about that? Raven is just standoffish. She doesn't care. Yang made her choice. And if she gets caught up in this, she made her choice and she can't help it. Once again, Mom of the Year for you. Now, Raven is going to have to rely on Vernal a lot in the coming episodes. And Vernal states that she is willing to do no matter what to help the tribe. Which really makes me think, would Raven be totally willing to stab Vernal in the back in order to save her own skin or the skins of her tribe. I mean, if she secures the relic, and she has that relic, and does she truly need Vernal anymore? What is the power of a maiden compared to the power of a relic gifted to humanity by the freaking gods? And I really believe that Raven, although she may simulate that she cares for Vernal and cares for her people, I think she would not hesitate to stab any of them in the back if it would mean that Raven comes out on top. No matter what. I may be wrong. I may be wrong. But that's just the gist that I am getting from Raven. So, Raven leaves Vernal back at the compound to finish things up there. And Raven travels to Haven Academy. And when she does, I was a bit taken aback. Why is she traveling to Haven Academy? Is she going to warn Crow? That way she can stack the odds even more in her favor. If Crow knows that there's going to be an attack coming, then he's going to be prepared and will tie up the Chaos Syndicate longer, so maybe Raven can secure the relic now? Or maybe she's going to talk to Lionheart, since now she knows that Lionheart is in the hand of Salem and she wants like some answers from him. Or maybe she's simply scouting out the area so she knows it better when the attack actually comes. Whichever one it is, I think that we're gonna probably get some answers in the next episode. Crow seems to sort of take notice that Raven arrives, or at least is somewhat curious about what is happening. But he's a bit distracted when it seems that Ozpin really needs to talk to him about something. And so that concludes the Raven part of this episode. Let's transfer over to now the Blake side of this episode. We see that Gira is still being a complete and utter berserker boss, taking on multiple opponents by himself, of course using only his bare hands with his claws. He is slaughtering the White Fang grunts that have come to attack him. And he secures one of their weapons and uses it to try to take out Corsic. However, in doing so, he leaves himself open to an attack and completely tanks the blow and loses his aura. So I think my analysis that he is a tough cookie to crack and not one single hit is going to take him down is sort of correct. He's been fighting this whole time using his aura, and now that it's gone, I still believe that it's going to take more than one hit to truly take him out of the fight. But it almost seems like he's about to be taken out of the fight, but he's actually saved by Sun at the last moment, and Sun and Blake finally arrive at the manor to help fend off the attack. So Sun makes a dramatic entrance, saving Gira and distracting Corsic and Finnick, while Blake comes up behind them and does a maneuver in a way where she is able to trap them when they go to stab at her, and she uses one of her dust rounds to create an ice clone, or is it a stone clone? It's kind of hard to tell with the lighting. Either way, their weapons get caught in this clone, leaving them completely and utterly defenseless for a while, and giving Blake and Sun and Gira a few moments to actually converse and talk about what's going on. Now this scene kind of makes me a little bit mad because in this moment, with what Blake does, how she drops down, secures Corsic and Finnick in this clone, trapping them, and then flipping in such a way to rejoin her father and son. She could have easily decapitated Corsic and Finnick, knocked Corsic and Finnick out, taken their weapons away, taken one of their arms off, or any other number of things that she could have done to completely take them out of the fight. But instead, she just opts out for trapping them for a few moments and then going to her father and son instead of just finishing the fight there. Now I know Blake needs to take care of other stuff probably, and this is kind of Gira's fight with taking on these guys. Plus, Sun hates their guts too. So it's kind of thematic that they're going to be taking on these two guys whom they hate so much. But, damn it, I just see the potential with Blake right here, that she could have ended the fight. Just like that. It could have been ended. But it's not. It's not. Instead, she's going to leave them to continue the fight and still leaving the possibility that Gira might die or Sun might die. And I don't really like that, especially when it could have been finished right there. But as I was saying before, Sun and Gira both see that this is their fight. And Gira actually says that he wants to see if Sun is actually worth his medal in battle. You know, it's time for him to actually be useful in anything. And I was just like, oh, they're gonna bond! It's gonna be so cute! But we leave this fight with Gira and Sun going back at it, and Blake going deeper into the manor to find her mother. And, well, she doesn't find her mother. Instead, she finds Ilya, just sitting there in the library? I mean, Ilya, aren't you supposed to be trying to kill the people? Were you waiting for Blake? Were you expecting her to escape? It just seems a little bit weird that she would just be waiting there instead of actively trying to kill the Belladonnas. But I guess it's a thematic approach that happens, and we leave off with a freaking cliffhanger with Ilya and Blake getting ready to go at each other. And that was Chapter 9 of Volume 5. And to be honest, I actually really like it. Despite the fact that I found a lot of problems with the Blake side of the story, I still love the idea that Gira and Sun are going to be able to bond over this, and seeing Gira being a total boss. Plus, the negotiations that went on between the Chaos Syndicate and Raven, I think were very, very good and very well acted. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. You could just cut the tension with a knife there, because half the time I was like, oh, they're actually gonna go at it. They're gonna go at it. And I kind of wanted them to go at it, because again, we haven't had a really good, decent fight in a while. And we kind of need one at this time. We're getting a little parched. I know that we have, you know, Gira totally owning, but is that really a true fight that we're used to? I don't know. I think we just need a real good fight in the next episode to keep this volume from getting too stale. Again, I love it when they talk. I love it when they explain things, and I love it when the characters develop. But, again, with a show, I use my cake analogy. The plot and character development is the cake, the fighting is the frosting. And we're running real low on frosting. At this point, we don't even have any filling. We just have a thin layer of frosting on top. We need to get a little bit more frosting, or maybe a little bit of filling in there. Please. Hopefully, with the next episode, we get a good fight. I'm guessing it's going to be between Ilya and Blake. And we're finally going to get that confrontation. I've been waiting for this confrontation for a long time, and hopefully, Blake can put Ilya in her place. And I hope that she just pounds Ilya into the ground. Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, thanks for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and favorite if you did. Subscribe if you feel inclined to. There's going to be links down in the description taking you to other videos that I've done. And until next time, my friends, I want you to be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, and I'll see you guys next time out there in YouTube land. I'll see you then. Yay-ho!